Hey everyone, Reid Henrichs of Valley Ridge, and the purpose of today's video is to break down some police gunfight footage from Denver. This incident happened in June. There are a lot of good lessons to glean from this. So let's go ahead and get started. To begin with, I enjoy doing these videos. I'm former law enforcement myself, part of Task Force Illinois. I was down in New Orleans for Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. A lot of good lessons down there as well. This video is focused towards law enforcement, although there are many types of people that can get information from this. So any critiques, not anti-law enforcement whatsoever. We just want to look at some options, and we want to look at the good, and we want to look at some things that we can learn to apply in the future as well. Other things I want you to understand. Training officers out there, feel free to share this video with your department. There are a lot of important lessons here. What you should notice right away is that this gunfight began at about 10 yards and ended at 20 yards. So a pretty decent pistol shot, especially when you consider that the officer fired his first couple of rounds while he was moving. He planted his feet and then fired some more rounds. He did strike the suspect in the chest, killing him. It did take a while for the suspect to die, but he did hit him in the chest and get him to stop shooting at the officers. The gunfight began when the bad guy shot at the officers. He shot 5 rounds from what the information said.
Show it.
The other thing you should notice from this video is that the shot angle was good from the officer's perspective. There wasn't anybody downrange from his angle. Now, other officers did fire. They did not have as clear of a shot, and a bystander was shot with a graze, but minor wounds from that. But the officer in the video, his shot angle was good. There wasn't any danger of anybody being shot downrange. So the officer was aware of his target. He was sure of his target and what was beyond it. That was excellent awareness. Another thing you should take from this is the officer's muzzle discipline. Despite the fact that he had just been in a gunfight, despite the fact that he was injured, he was still aware of his muzzle, even when his partner walked right in front of him. If you'll notice, he took his muzzle and went down and around the other officers. So great muzzle discipline, great awareness. Obviously, he had a reflexive and subconscious dedication to the firearms handling rules, which apply at all times.
I'm hit. I need a tourniquet now. I have an officer hit in the leg. Give me cars here, code 10. Trav, I got you. Watch out. You see stuff?
Another important lesson from this video is that when the officer decided to make his pistol full, he had fired approximately 13 rounds at that point. He was aware of it. He knew his pistol was getting light. So what he does is he decided to top his pistol off. And what you're going to notice is that he reached for his spare magazine first before he ditched his partial. That was excellent technique. We always want to reach for a fresh magazine and ensure that we have one before we eject the partial. Because had he not had another magazine there and just decided to eject his magazine, now he's down to a single shot pistol. So in the moment, under stress, outstanding technique. You can tell that he had obviously practiced this multiple times.
I need a tourniquet now. I have an officer hit in the leg. Give me cars here, code 10. Trav, I got you. Watch out.
Officers talking in the video were in control of their emotions and control of their actions, and they were quite aware of the situation going on. In fact, in the video, as it spools up longer and longer, the officer, even though he was injured, went over to check on innocent bystanders, one of whom had been shot by the suspect's errant round. And he was aware enough to give instructions on how to treat the gunshot wounds.
Your mom got shot? Where'd you get shot, ma'am?
Right here.
Okay, hold pressure, okay?
Yes, I'm
Hold pressure, okay? I'm shot too, so. You guys are all okay though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another important lesson is that despite the officer being injured, he was able to continue to fight back. He was shot in the leg. The suspect did shoot him in the leg, but he was still able to continue the fight, communicate with his partner, and also communicate with other responding units. So he had the fighting spirit to continue despite injury and maintain control of himself and his actions.
79 Baker, he's going to be in the 500 block, right in front of a silver Jeep. He's still moving. My partner's putting my tourniquet on right now, so I'm not able to get him into custody yet. Mark this time for tourniquet time. Back. I'm good. I'm not leaving this guy, dude. I've got him, Trav.
Some final thoughts on this video. Even though the police officers carried firearms as part of their job. What they also carried were tourniquets. So if you are not carrying tourniquets as part of your everyday carry or part of your duty carry, you need to carry a tourniquet because blood loss will kill you faster than any other thing. You've got to make sure that you're applying these tourniquets to gunshot wounds to the extremities. His partner obviously applied his tourniquet for him while he covered the suspect, and he looks like he did a pretty good job applying that tourniquet. So if you're going to carry a firearm, I highly recommend carrying a tourniquet to stop blood loss, not only for yourself, but for other bystanders as well. There's a good chance other people are going to get shot, and there's a chance you may be shot as well. Carry a tourniquet as part of your everyday carry and as part of your duty carry as well.
Step up, step up. Lift your foot up, bud. I got you, dude. You're okay.
79 Baker, he's going to be in the 500 block, right in front of a silver Jeep. He's still moving. My partner's putting my tourniquet on right now, so I'm not able to get him into custody yet. Mark this time for tourniquet time.
An important lesson for you officers out there is communication with other units. If you'll notice, the police officers communicated on the radio where their lane of fire was. They communicated where the shots were coming from and gave responding officers a chance to appropriately come to the scene without getting in the line of fire. What they also communicated amongst each other was roles and responsibilities in the moment. If you'll watch the entire video, you'll see that those officers made sure that the other unit covered the suspect once they tended to other individuals in their close proximity. So outstanding communication on that part.
We're facing eastbound. Our line of fire is eastbound. Dude, I got too much crossfire. Lance, you guys got him? Do you have him?
And closing thoughts here, folks. If you watch the video, you will see that there was firing going on despite other people being in front of them slightly off to the side, either to the left or to the right. And I think oftentimes training on the range programs people to immediately call ceasefire or to just stop firing altogether if there's someone in front of the firing line. Well, in public, in this case, in this video, you will see people in front of them, slightly to the left, slightly to the right. They were still able to focus on the sights and make the hit. And so I want you to understand that you may have to fire with people in front of you. You may have a narrow window of opportunity to make that shot. And these officers were able to do that, and they were able to block out what's going on either side and focus on the actual shooting. They were aware of their situation, and that is a good thing. And what you'll also take from this video is that the partners fired in very close proximity to each other. They were very close together when the shooting was taking place. So it's going to be loud, there are going to be shell casings, and there's going to be noise in close proximity to your ears. And I want you to understand that, folks. If you are not used to doing that, then you need to maybe conduct some drills that simulate that and fire in close proximity or even in contact with another person on your body. In closing, a lot of good lessons from this video. A lot of good techniques were implemented, and the officer did shoot and kill the suspect with a hit to the chest while moving when the suspect was 10 to 20 yards away at the end of that gunfight. So good on that officer for hitting the bad guy. Now, if you do look at the descriptor in that original video, it will say that the officer fired 13 rounds and hit the guy in the chest with 1 round. Now, people may critique that marksmanship and say, oh, that's too many misses. Well, why don't you shoot on the move? Why don't you shoot on the move from 10 to 20 yards while you're moving and while your target is moving? Much easier to do it on a static cardboard range. Much easier to do that when nobody's shooting back on you. So the very fact that this guy did shoot with 1 round into the suspect's chest, incapacitating and eventually killing him, he had a clear line of fire there. Obviously, there was effective marksmanship in this case in that he did stop the suspect. Despite that he did miss 12 times, he did make 1 good hit and did have a clear lane of fire. For those of you in law enforcement, please feel free to share this video with your department. I put a link to the original full-length video in the description box below. We have trained a lot of law enforcement. I've had officers from major metropolitan agencies from all across the country come here and get training, and they have noticed their deficiencies in their training, and also were able to supplement their existing training with what we offer here as well. So good on these officers in Denver to actually end the gunfight, and good on them to address the situation. They came under fire immediately out of exiting their squad car, and this stuff can go from 0 to 100 like that, and I think that you'll notice that from these videos. If you found the information helpful, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to get some good training, if you want to get some drills that are realistic and relevant to you, come on out to Valor Ridge and we can help you with that. This is Reid Henrichs with Valor Ridge reminding you the lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.